Good morning. My name is Jen Pierce, and I'm a professor in the Geosciences Department here at Boise State. I use she, her pronouns. I will be speaking today with our group about promoting diverse and inclusive leadership in the geosciences. This is a project funded by the National Science Foundation. Next slide. Our project goal is to develop and test a framework that incentivizes and rewards inclusive leaders in the geosciences through changes in faculty workload policy and annual evaluations. Through this project, we have understood how we can institutionalize the importance, value, and recognition of leaders in diversity and inclusion, and identify training activities and evidence-based practices performed at Boise State. We are then going to go on in this coming year to test this framework and these practices at Idaho State so that this becomes a transferable framework that other departments and other institutions can use to promote inclusive leadership.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremy Harper. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the interim managing director of the BUILD program. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about how we define inclusive leadership and why it's important. So inclusive leadership is the intentional choice to engage in the practice of inclusive excellence, a practice of shifting the responsibility for advancing diversity and excellence initiatives and actions away from a single person or office to an infusion of responsibility across campus. In other words, inclusive leadership is about growing our shared capacity, our collective capacity to lead from wherever we are in the university on issues of equity and inclusion, so that all of us are actively working to create more inclusive learning and working environments. Now, inclusive leadership is important for a number of reasons, because diverse teams and organizations are more creative and productive. The research is really clear on this. And because welcoming more diverse students and creating inclusive learning environments for them is key to improving educational access and student success.
So, good morning. I'm Donna Llewellyn, the Executive Director of the Institute for Inclusive and Transformative Scholarship, and I use she, her pronouns. From the definition that Jeremy just shared, it is clear that to become an institution that really believes in and uses inclusive leadership requires both top-down as well as bottom-up support. Examples of top-down: funding from external agencies, university leadership support, other organizational support. And from the bottom up requires faculty and student input and ownership of this concept. It's where those two meet that I consider as the friction of where institutional change can actually occur. And so moving forward from that point, then how do you work with students and faculty to identify the low-hanging fruit where you can actually make change quickly and then build on those small successes to really grow across the whole campus? From this project, we've come away with three main takeaways. First, student involvement and input is absolutely essential. We can't do this without the student input. We're doing this for the students, and so they have to do it with us. Second, incentivizing this work is essential. We need to push the needle by having people who are doing this work actually be rewarded and validated for doing the work. And finally, inclusive leadership is important across the whole campus. This is not just a geosciences issue. This is a campus-wide issue. It will look different everywhere, but the concepts really are unifying across the campus. So we're going to talk a little bit about each of these takeaways, and the first one being how student input and involvement is essential. So I'm going to turn it over to one of our graduate students to talk about the Student Advisory Board. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Allison and my pronouns are she, her. I am a graduate student from the Department of Geoscience, starting in the College of Education this year. And I was a member of the Student Advisory Board for this project. And so we formed in the fall of 2021 with 5 undergraduate students and 5 graduate students. And as members of this board, we were all provided stipends each semester that we were involved. And so that supported our work on the inclusive leadership work across our department. And so our role as the student advisory board was to bring a student perspective to what we thought would advance inclusivity in the department. And so we self-organized to do this, forming subgroups around specific initiatives and recommendations. And then we met once or twice a month as a full group. And then towards the end of the spring 2022 semester, we presented the project PIs and the department faculty with a summary report of our recommendations and a presentation at the faculty meeting.
Hi, my name is Angela Seibert. I use she, her pronouns. I am also a graduate student in the Geosciences department, and I was part of the student advisory board. A few of the initiatives that we focused on as a group included undergraduate inclusion. So we began working towards building mentorship between older undergraduates and younger undergraduates, and then graduates and undergraduates, making quieter student workspaces for undergraduate geoscience students, and building a broader network between undergraduates and faculty. We also focused on community building by working with the city of Boise to work towards outreach with STEM camps, and then the community garden on Boise State's campus, where we invited broader groups throughout the community out to our garden. Here you can see our wheelchair accessible bed that was built in the spring. And then we also work towards a program called Making Adventures Possible for All Students, or MAPAs. And we identified some protocols for how to make fieldwork more inclusive. And we hope you will look at some of these inclusive elements and decide how you might include them in your own department. So as a group, we identified a few things that worked and some possible future initiatives. So what worked, we received broad support from both the Geoscience department and financially from NSF. And then we effectively created those accessible safe spaces through the community garden and spaces in the department floor. And we engaged the broader community very well, and we effectively shared our framework with Idaho State University. Our future initiatives include broadening our advertising of student spaces and working on building some work study programs to maintain the long-term projects we developed, like the community garden. And then also, we suggest, if you are interested in building a student advisory board, focusing on horizontally structured leadership and making sure it's effectively distributed among all the students involved.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lavanya. I am a master's in public administration student, and I'm also a research assistant on this project. And what I did here was, as part of the bottom-up approach, I took some of the feedback that we got from the faculty to understand what could be possible barriers to moving this policy forward and what would be the right policy tool. And what I found is that the way the faculty is socially constructed, voluntary policy is what would be the best fit here. But data has also shown that voluntary policy in the past does not push the needle. And that says that tying positive incentives with this policy is necessary for change in the future. The other things that I also found were that policy implementation and evaluation are going to be crucial next steps, and status quo is only going to change through, will only shift through incremental change. Next slide, please.
Good morning, I'm Kendra Kaiser. I'm a research faculty in the Department of Geosciences. I use she, her pronouns. And the thing that came out of this past year that was really exciting is that we updated our workload policy in the Department of Geosciences. It passed to the faculty vote, and we are now going to be receiving credit for doing inclusive leadership in regards to our research, teaching, and service. And so the next steps that we were really looking forward to are facilitating these efforts in other departments across campus, because this isn't just for the geosciences. And down the road, thinking about how we can actually integrate inclusive leadership into our tenure and promotion reviews and policies as well. How can we take this innovation in our own department and expand to the broader academic sphere?
Hi, my name is Carrie Molina, and I'm an undergraduate within the Geoscience Department. I use she, her pronouns. The Student Advisory Board exists because there's a collective need to support student success, and to do that, the educational system needs to evolve to be more inclusive. The Student Advisory Board worked towards identifying the challenges and barriers within our department. The work we've done is meant to be shared in a way any faculty member can find barriers to inclusivity within their own classes and department. Professors, faculty members make such a huge difference in students' experiences and lives. Students thrive when teachers accommodate learning and cultural differences. To understand collective barriers, the student voice is necessary. We did a student survey to find out how are we meeting students where they are. We're finding and identifying the collective and individual barriers. Ability, disability is a social construct, and what disables students isn't their limitations in themselves, it's in the environment. And we presented what we found to the faculty, who were very supportive. The other initiative was faculty interviews, finding out who is already doing the work in your department. Burnout is real. We need collective effort and community to be successful. And we also identified challenges the faculty members have. Faculty need more support. The faculty that does put in time and effort stand out. They make a difference in students' lives. The faculty members that have made their classes more inclusive and take trainings, they have made a huge difference and they should be compensated. One of the major things for myself was, as a student with a learning disability, barriers and challenges aren't always obvious, and sending out a survey at the beginning of the semester to let students know who they are and what you can do to help them. Just because we did this, fostering a thriving community and inclusivity in your department looks different. It's important that the education process is honest about the need to keep making changes forward. How is your department doing this in a way to reflect, to keep building off of it for the coming semester? Thank you.
Some closing thoughts to leave us all with. This work is hard. It's challenging. It's really, really rewarding and important, as Carrie just reminded us. But it's hard, which is why we really need all of us doing this work. One of the best ways that we can care for ourselves and care for each other is by supporting each other and sharing the load of this work. We need to be aware of burnout and just make sure we're building this supportive community. With that in mind, there are some resources that are available on this campus. First is the BUILD program. Again, I am the interim managing director. Feel free to reach out to me directly or check out our website. We provide consultations and workshops. The Office of the Provost, Susan Shadle, has been incredibly supportive of this effort from its very beginning. And Donna Llewellyn and the IFITS is another great resource that's been incredibly supportive of this effort, as well as other efforts towards inclusive leadership and inclusive research throughout our community.
On behalf of this whole team, I would like to thank you for listening to this presentation. Takeaway points. Make those student surveys. We're all getting ready to teach our classes. Find out how you can best support your students. Please reach out to the BUILD program and others to find out how you and your department can be inclusive leaders. Finally, please feel free to reach out to myself, Jen Pierce, and Kendra Kaiser. Our emails are on the screen and we'll put them in the chat. We'd be happy to share our framework and other resources with you. Have a great semester.